Joining us today is Stoy Hall.
It was always about money.
My time is better spent doing what I know and what I'm good at, which is, building this company, marketing, all helping clients.
I don't want to have a firm that has thousands of clients, tens of thousands of clients, and staff of 400.
What I've seen with you is you really come in with a strategic approach.
We're all in this wealth journey, if you will.
Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Stoy Hall.
Well, thank you, Sarah. And got me all choked up. That was amazing. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm so glad you could join us today. This is going to be an exciting episode. You and I have known each other for quite a while, and I love what you do. And I think that so many people in the business world or even wannabe business owners just believe that financial planning, financial advisors just are going to talk to you about stocks and bonds. I know I did for a very long time. And then I met you and you really just blew my mind about, your approach to it, what you do. And I realized like both of what we do just goes hand in hand and one should not function without the other. So I'm excited to share that with everybody today and let them get to know you as well as your company. And I think by the end, they're all going to realize that they all need a you. That's for sure.
I'm excited.
So why don't we start by getting to know you? Tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming a financial advisor and starting your company, Black Mammoth.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, with a single mother. Who always worked 12-hour shifts, whether it was at a bar or security company. And early on, I realized that this money issue topic thing was always a problem, right? She didn't have time to come to all my ball games. She didn't have time to always make me dinner. I had to learn and grow up relatively quickly. And I always talk about, like, everyone's like, well, how the hell did you get raised? Well, I had great grandparents, the team of people around, my friends, their families. So I'm not specifically, talking about that. What I'm talking about is my mom's mindset and relationship with money was, now that I've learned this a lot, it was very negative, right? It was always about money, and everything's been about money. And all you listening, you're sitting there going, yeah, I think the same way. Money is like everything I need to do. And so early on, I recognized that I wanted to get out of that situation. For me, it was sports. I was a baseball player first and then became better at football. And I knew that was going to be my path. So I ended up going to Drake University to play football, got my degree in finance, obviously, but I minored in business law and insurance as well because I knew I wanted to help business owners, specifically small business owners, because we're the ones that hire everybody, right? So we're the one that touch most people. We might as well be the ones that can at least lead the way. And while I was on campus, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club for about 4.5 years as well. And that's when I learned that, like, my situation wasn't exclusive, right? We're all in this wealth journey, if you will.
Yes.
We all have financial trauma or money memories that lead us one way or another, regardless of how many zeros in your bank account or in your, your trust fund, whatever you have, right? And I recognize that, and that always led back to financial education. I used to call literacy, but now it's just more education in general. And I know we obviously do a lot of social medias together, but also that's all it is educating. Ultimately, all it needs to be. And so when I graduated, I went into the insurance world and learned a lot about life insurance and all that stuff. So all of the ones that are out there listening on TikTok, all those, fancy concepts about life insurance. Yeah, I get those too. Been through those. And then from there, I joined a firm out of Houston, which was in this financial planning world, right? When I was selling insurance, it really wasn't financial planning. It was like, here's some life insurance,
right,
and move on. When I finally got, free of that, it really was focused on financial planning. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Well, everyone's definition is relatively similar. It's you can look at everything holistically, and based upon what your goals and where you're at in life, the plan dictates what the next step is, right?
Yep.
When we're in life insurance, it's always life insurance first. When you're in the real world, it could be buying a vehicle, a home, getting lending, you name it, right? It just doesn't matter. So from there, I decided to launch Black Mammoth in 2020. Been in the industry for 13 years, but 4 years ago decided, hey, it's time to open up my own for a couple of reasons. I don't want to have a firm that has thousands of clients, tens of thousands of
Mm.
clients, and staff of 400, because I don't believe in our industry with true financial planning. One planner can have more than about maybe 60 clients, maybe. Like that's pretty far for me. Right now, the average is over 200. Okay. And that doesn't make sense. I can't
Wow.
meet with that many people. So I wanted to launch Black Mammoth to really focus on quality
Mm.
and being that second person for somebody. And
Mm.
so we launched Black Mammoth, and all we focus on is stabilizing, transcending your wealth along this journey of life. And it's a life journey. I want everyone to know that this is not, you
Mm-mm.
cannot get rich quick.
Nope.
There's no such thing. And you're literally going to be on this journey until the day you die. And guess what? Hopefully you have a legacy to leave and it continues on with those below you.
Mm. And the name Black Mammoth, it's very
Yeah.
unique, and I love it. What does that come from?
Yeah, so I wanted something that didn't have wealth management on it, financial advising, you name
Mm-hmm.
the things that are out there. Didn't want my name on it because I want it to be, more of a brand. I wanted black in it because one, I'm black. Two, black is bold. And then being in the black financially is where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tasked like my team. I was like, I want black in the name, but I don't know where else to go with this. And at that time, one of my staff members, his brother's an artist in Nashville, and he did a whole bunch of research, and he was like, Black Mammoth. I was like, okay, I like that. But he came back to like what the definition of mammoth is, or what they did back in the day when they were around. And what they did is they not only protected their own herd and led them to water and food, they did it for the other animals,
Mm.
right? The other dinosaurs, whatever
Wow.
the hell was around their time period. And they led others to prosperity. And
Mm.
so I knew that is exactly what I want to
Mm-hmm.
do on that journey, no matter where we have to go and no matter where you come from. So that's where Black Mammoth
Mm.
name came from, and that's the meaning behind it.
Wow. I love that. I didn't know until today the meaning behind it. That's amazing. And I love animals, so that
Yeah,
kind of has
yeah, exactly.
a double meaning for me.
Right.
So, Stoy, a lot of our listeners are probably just beginning their entrepreneurial journey or just thinking about it. And I'm sure they probably don't have a financial advisor. So, in the simplest terms possible, because I like things basic, can you explain what a financial advisor does and also why it's so important for, I think, every business owner to have one?
Yeah. I will start with there's different titles around this industry about a financial advisor, planner, registered representative, and all those. I want to cut through all that first. There is a difference between a financial advisor who does advising and one that does investment advising. Okay. So everyone get that clear. There are advisors out there who only do investment advising. We're not talking about them. We're talking about financial planners who are holistically looking at wherever your money comes in and out of. Okay. So you'll see me flip back and forth between financial advisor and planner, just because that's the terms that are out there. But a true financial planner is probably going to be a certified financial planner. We have to pass boards and all of
Mm.
those. Those are the ones that we're talking about in today's episode. But to put it simple, we can help answer two things for you. Am I good? And I mean that
Mm.
as vague as possible, right? Am I good where I'm at? What's going on? Am I just good? And two, do you have my back in case things come up in life? That is what planners can do who are focused on your holistic well-being. Because that, yes, very vague and very generic. When you think about it deeply rooted, all of the things that come up, just ask us the questions. We're going to get it done for you. And that
Mm.
is truly what, in a simple standpoint, what we do as planners for you.
I love it, and I apologize. I've had the term wrong, so I'll try to do
No,
better. But
you're good. That's our stupid marketing in our
no,
industry.
but you
I
know
get it.
what? I'm glad you differentiated, because me and my ignorance, I fell into that group of just assuming it was all talking about stocks, and
Yeah.
I have learned very quickly you do absolutely so much more than that, and that's really just the tiniest little piece there. So
Right.
thank you for differentiating. So, since you and I met, I quickly realized what you and I both do works so well together. Like, I feel like we are the perfect match made in heaven. Like, shouldn't get funding without working with you, and working with you, you should also know how to get funding. And I can talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but I'd love to kind of hear from your perspective why you feel like, people that, for example, are looking to get funding for their business should really work with someone like you to know, hey, is this make sense at all or not? Because that's the piece where I feel like I'm missing the boat on that, and you fill in there perfectly.
Yeah, when we all start a business, it's our baby, right? It is ours. We think
Mm-hmm.
we know everything. We think we can figure it out. And you usually can figure it out. But majority of businesses fail for two specific reasons. One, they don't see what's going to happen down the pipe because they've never had the experience. And two, because of the lack of planning with their funding, right? Whether it's usually out of their own pocket, or even if you have investors or get outside lending. And ultimately, that's what needs to be understood and handled before we even get into the lending side of things. You need to understand what you want to do and why you want to do it with whatever capital you may or may not have at that time. And then working with someone like me, or I have a list of others if you don't want to work with me, of course. That being said, of like we can see things that you
Mm-hmm.
can't see because you don't have the experience and have not seen it before, right? And ultimately, that's what a team or a mentor or a coach, you name whatever you want to call it, that's what we offer, right? I can see things coming down the pipe before you would ever even think of it. And that could lead to a lot of issues or the lack of planning on the front side. So then when we come to you for lending, or if they don't come to me first, they're going to ask for money and get all of what they want, not enough of what they want, and no exact way of how to pay it back and or how to actually use it in the best way possible operationally. And that's why it's so important on the front side to get with us. Now, a lot of you have already gone through the lending or you're getting your lending right now. So I'll talk about the backside too, saying you also then have it. You don't have to move the money as soon as you get it. As soon as Sarah's team gets it to you, it doesn't have to be deployed immediately. So if you're in that boat and you're like, oh, I know exactly where it should go, I think you should reach out to someone and at least have them go through it because maybe they can see something that you cannot see. And maybe we need more lending or we don't need all of the lending. So we can do something else with it to make sure that we're stabilized or have an emergency fund or you name it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two ways. Now, I would say if you're doing it on the front side, lending's a lot easier to get because I know your story. Sarah's
Mm-hmm.
going to know your story. We can get all the documents. We can talk on the background of exactly what we need specifically, which makes the offer and what we're asking for a lot easier to get when you know exactly what we're doing it and what we're doing it for, as opposed to, hey, Sarah, I need some funding. How much can you get me? I need it all. That's really vague.
Mm-hmm. And I get that a lot, which is totally okay. And I try to stay in my wheelhouse. I never jump into yours, but there's been so many instances where I've wanted to really say, hey, take a step back, give Stoy a call, just because they do. So many business owners have that mindset of I'm going to take it all, and they don't really know like what they're going to do with it, how they're going to pay it back, what differences it's going to make. They just know they need capital to grow their business. But really, and I've seen this firsthand, and we'll get into that later. What I've seen with you is you really come in with a strategic approach and talk about, okay, this makes sense. Here's how we're going to use it. Here's how you're going to pay it back. Here's how it's going to help grow your business. And I think that's missed, unfortunately. And I don't want to say it's poor financial decisions because I've seen business owners do amazing things with the funding we've provided, but I think they could do even more amazing things if they worked with someone like you to really understand how to maximize every single little penny as opposed to just kind of this overall, here's the money approach.
Yeah,
But
because it's a journey. Like we talked about, it's a journey.
it is.
When
It
usually
is.
we start businesses, we're very short-sighted in
Mm-hmm.
our mind, right? We're thinking 6, 9 months, 12 months.
Yep.
That's good, but you also need to be thinking 5, 10, 15. I know there's a lot of changes within those timeframes, but you need to be preparing for all of those as you go and realizing that and this is the greatest thing. One, I will always say that being a business owner sucks. So don't get me wrong.
You do say that a
Embrace it.
lot. I
It
love it.
sucks. But I love it and it's very fulfilling. However, it builds slower than you think in your mind. It will always be that way. It's always going to start a little slower. Things are going to be accomplished slower because there's not enough time. And you got to realize that that is okay. It's a journey. This isn't, I'm not trying to build a $100 million practice or $1 million practice in 6 months because it's not really realistic. You're not ready either mentally and physically.
Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of people out there that do exactly what you do. However, what would you say makes you unique? What about your approach is different than others?
Besides my mindset of really wanting to help others more than myself to a fault sometimes, is the concept of the family office, which I now deem modern family office. And that is a family office is very private. The most wealthy people in the world all have them. They're everywhere. You just don't know it, right? And really what they do is they do a few things. One, they protect the family, and the family can be a business, etc. They just call it family. Protect them from decisions, poor, good, bad, whatever decisions. Help set up the legacy so no matter what happens to the primary person, this thing continues, right? Their plan continues. And then does all the dirty work on the back end for them, right? You need a car, got it. You need lending, done. You need insurance, okay? We got that. You need to talk with an attorney because of you moved your business from Iowa to Florida, done, right? All of those things are going to be done on the back end for you, including all your bill pay and your travel setup. All of those things that take a lot of time for us personally and in the business are going to be handled by your family office and within their team of professionals, right? And you're part of that. Our partnership is part of that. When one of my clients and we see we need lending, guess what? Send it off to Sarah. We get in the process. We're good to go. Turn around, sign it and move on, right? And that's what everyone I know from a business perspective, that's what we're wanting. We're wanting this team that works together and are locked to get these things done for me because I want to focus on my family and whatever my role is in my business.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I will say from personal experience, that's what amazed me the most about you. Because again, I was ignorant. And once I started working with you, I quickly realized we needed you for our own business. And I will say, I'm still adjusting. I still keep thinking we have to do everything ourselves. And you keep reminding me, Sarah, that's what I'm here for. But you know what I've realized what's so amazing is that my time is better spent doing what I know and what I'm good at, which is, building this company, marketing, all helping clients. My time is not best spent trying to, make the books make sense or, hunting down life insurance, doing all those things. And I didn't realize that until you came into the picture because we were trying to do it all and we were doing a terrible job of it. And then you stepped in and you're like, "Hey, I can take this load off of you." And it was tremendous. And it's still hard to get used to. I'm slowly letting
Yeah.
go of it all, but I will tell you from a business owner's perspective, I know you've got our back, which is so amazing because I'm like, all right, Stoy's not going to let us fall. It's kind of like when you were little and you did that trust fall. Like I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like you're back there to catch us, and it's such a great feeling. It really is. So I'm not just saying that to plug you. I do think it's important that I should share my personal experience because I feel like that gives it a little bit more even validity because I personally work with you and just find it amazing. And I think,
And
yeah, go ahead.
you hit it on the nail on the head. It is very hard to do that transition
Mm.
because
Mhm.
we're all, even myself early on when I was like, I'm coming up with this idea, this model, this firm, it's so against the grain. It's against any marketing thing you've ever seen. It's against everything that you've ever been taught when you're growing up. You still won't see it in the media. It is such an inherently different approach to this money world. It is shifting. Our industry is shifting, but it will take you a little bit to go, okay, this is what it's about. This is how it operates because it is so drastically different. Again, everybody, it's not about products, right? We don't care about those. We don't care about investments. We care about you, where you're at, and how to get you going. And that literally means top to bottom everything. Even if you need to call and chat and vent because being a business owner sucks, I'm here. Like that's what we're here for because we're all one family at that point.
Hmm. And something that is unique about you is you're not judgmental and not to say that others are, but I think that's the biggest fear when somebody lets someone else into their business. It's like, and I know this sounds silly, it's like showing them their underwear drawer, right?
Yeah.
They're going to see all behind the scenes, and there's that fear of, oh my gosh, he's going to look at our books and go, "What's wrong with you? Do you not know how to add?" There's that fear, but I will say you are very accepting. There wasn't that moment of, where we felt really dumb. It was just like, all right, we're a team. Let's move forward. Let's figure out the best path forward. And I think, that's unique. And that's hats off to you, because you realize that everybody has a unique relationship with money. And for most of us, that relationship involves a lot of negative connotations. We've had bad experiences where people have treated us poorly over money, whether it's at the bank, a car dealer, whatever it is. And so the fact that you recognize that and you work with that so beautifully, that's what makes you successful and makes you so good at what you do. Because if you fail to recognize that people have that relationship, you'll fail miserably at what you're doing, and you'll just continue that cycle that everybody's so used to. So I love that about you and your approach. And now that we're on some feel good moments, I'd love to hear a success story. Can you share a story where maybe a business owner realized how amazing it was to have you, and what kind of changed for them with maybe their relationship with money, but also their business as well?
Yeah. I'll always go with, there's been 3 that have popped up over the last, 2 years. And that is buying out the business from their owner or starting a brand new business. Um, when you're starting out, and I'm using that because this is the highlight and the theme of this podcast, but those came to me and they were in the process of figuring out how they want to buy the business from the owner or their
Mm,
boss. And it wasn't about the lending and the funding and getting the financials done, right? No. Did they have any idea what they were doing there? No. However, it was more along the lines of getting them ready to take on the onslaught of what comes, and not like preparing them in terms of like, when this happens, we're going to do this, that type of thing, because you can't prepare 100% for those. It was more about getting the mindset right. And so this specific client, it took 6 months of negotiations while she's working with them
mm,
to buy it. So 6 months just to negotiate the deal.
jeez.
And the emotions that you go from, "Hey, we got it figured out," to, "Okay, the attorneys didn't," right? And you're going up and down and figuring out, the valuation and the tax situation, because now you're 6 months into a year. What is this gonna do to the clientele base? What is this gonna do to your employees? Oh, what is it gonna do to my personal income? Because, I still have bills to pay for myself. In the emotional ride with all of that, was really awful and cool to see at the same time, right? I don't want anyone ever to go through that. However, I was there to support with the little things that popped up, right? From, "I don't wanna do this anymore," to, "Hey, we got it done," and I'm like, all in between,
Mm.
"Just calm down, right? We're gonna go up and down the whole time." So, 6 months later, finally got it done. What people don't realize when you start a business and or buy one is that things always pop up. Name it, it'll pop up. So 6 months later, we're still dealing with paying off bills, figuring out that, hey, this expense came out of nowhere for the business. We've got, staff changes, we've got personal changes. Oh, we've got tax situation because you're going to get IRS bills that are automatic. And guess what? It looks like, and this is a fair note to everyone, IRS will automatically send out invoices, letters automatically, no matter what, even if you did things right or wrong. Okay. It's just an automatic system. Sometimes it doesn't. Don't freak out. Go to your accountant and it'll be fine. But so those things are going on. Businesses starting to, turn around and grow. And we're coming up on a year, like 6 months after that first year, to where she's got it, right? Moved from uh, one clinic to another clinic, new brand
Mm.
name, new change, new website, new staffing coming in, new clients coming in, and things are now starting to, what I like to say, just kind of roll, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
rolling. We're not so high, we're not so low, we're just kind of rolling because that's a normal business. And to see her growth, both personally and from a business owner perspective, there's no ROI on that. There's no valuation on that. It's just amazing to see that she is a business owner now and things pop up. So that's happened a couple times in the last couple years. And I know that from a business starting standpoint, to get someone from chaos of starting to kind of peaceful in a short period of time. Takes a lot of hard work, but that is the true value of hiring someone like me or someone that I know like me, because you're not going to get that from a coach or consultant because they're not in the business with you. We're going to be in it right beside every decision that's making, even if you don't pull us into those meetings, Sarah, and help you through those.
I'm learning. We've clearly identified that I'm still learning. No, I love that story. That gives me hope too. I want to be your success story. That's awesome. Um, so this kind of dives into both you and I are in an interesting industry. You know, a lot of people have preconceived notions, a lot of misconceptions about what we do, a lot of distrust. I'm curious, what misconceptions do you find that business owners have about financial planners, financial advisors, and how do you address those with clients and potential clients?
Yeah. First misconception is, again, like you had thought, we all do investments and investments only.
Yep.
Okay. That's the biggest misconception. The other misconception is that it's all product driven,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's all we think about is only things that deal with money from a talk about your insurances, investments, your disability stuff, you name it from a product perspective. Those are the two biggest misconceptions because really that's not what we're here for. We're really here for your emotional side because every
Mm.
decision we make is emotional, regardless if you think so or not.
Yep.
We're here to support those emotional decisions, which take into account how the hell you're feeling that day, right? Your physical health, your mental health, what's going on with you personally. Where are we at in the business cycle for your business? Where are we at with the economy and society as a cycle as well? What are some legislatives or things our government loves to throw at us all the time? Where are we at with those things, right? Ultimately, those all become part of the decision making, and that's something that is a huge misconception. The third, because I always like things in threes, is that we only talk about money specifically. I don't know if you guys have realized in this podcast so far is we haven't brought up numbers
Nope.
or money or dollar figures or credit scores. None of the numbers have been brought up
Nope.
because none of that is really relevant in terms of how to get you to where you want to go. Numbers are just numbers. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. We can make the numbers work some way or another. We can't do that and make a plan work if you're not ready and your mindset and everything are not in line.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And I love, you're right. We haven't mentioned money. We haven't mentioned credit scores. But yet I still feel like this has been a valuable session far beyond talking about that. And while we're talking though about numbers, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. You know, most people probably think, would it make sense financially to hire a financial advisor, financial planner? You know, probably there's some that think, oh, it'd be too expensive. Can you talk a little bit about, the return on investment of working with someone like you and how even maybe for the struggling business owner, it still would make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. One, you there's a lot of us, okay?
Mm-hmm.
However, there's not enough of us for you.
Mm.
Wanted to say that first.
Mm.
Second, I also want to let you know that no matter how much money you have or don't have, it is vitally important to have a team put in place. Okay. That being said, it's always the toughest thing because of not knowing how people work with people, right? Is to how do you value it, right? So everyone thinks about value in a different ways. In our industry, we always tie it back to a percentage for some stupid reason because of investments. But all the studies show that if you have a planner on your team who's doing more than just investments, of course, it brings in about a return of 3 to 4% higher than you would do yourself. Okay. Now, I think it's higher when you have a firm kind of like mine because we're tying a lot into taxes, obviously your accounting, and we're saving you time, right? Ultimately, we're saving you more time by doing what we're doing. And the ROI on that is different for everyone else, right? I don't know what your hourly rate is, but you kind of need to figure that out to factor all of this in. So those things combined, I don't want to put a number on it, but think about that. If just the investment side and some of those decisions from I think it was a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity research shows about 3.5% to 4% that we're saving you or adding as a return. Think about all the other ones when we could talk about taxes. How many are
Mm-hmm.
you doing? How many of you right now are doing taxes and bookkeeping yourself?
Mm,
A lot, right? That is the most time consuming and where the biggest mistakes
yes.
can land you, right? And the return on that is invaluable, right? I couldn't even put a number on that, but I know my team has done it on average, saves about 25 to 30,000 in taxes when they first come on, depending obviously on income. But that's usually our average because that's how much people are missing. So the return on that's pretty good, right? And then the other part is there's no return on the relationship and that peace of mind of knowing Stoy's got my back, Black
Mm,
Mammoth's got my back, XYZ person's got my back. There's no return on that. So it's a lot, right? There's a lot of moving parts that
mm-hmm.
go into it. But if you're a numbers person, just stick with the 4%, fine. Go with that. But once you get into it, you're going to recognize that you probably don't pay enough for it because of what it feels like to you.
Absolutely. And I truly believe even the new struggling business owner, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And you will thank yourself a year later, 2 years later for doing it. I know I'm thanking myself. And we waited too long, but yeah, truly. And you answered my next question because I really was going to talk about, we are in an age where there's a lot of do it yourself. You can go online and find out how to do a lot of what you do yourself, but as you clearly said, there's a lot of risk to doing that, especially, I was blown away what you said about the taxes. That's a huge one. None of us like donating money to Uncle Sam. And just hearing that alone, how much people are usually really throwing down the drain without working with someone like you and having that accounting piece involved. So, is there any other risks that you can think of? For people that are just thinking, I can do all this myself. I can YouTube the videos. Why would I need to hire someone?
Yeah. Well, besides like missing just the money component, you're also missing the protection component. When you have a professional who is highly regulated, like myself, man, SEC is really fun to us. That's also another line of protection because if we do it wrong, you can go ahead and sue us, and that's why we have E&O, and that's why we have all those things. So if we are doing something wrong, whether it's fraudulently or we miss something or whatever, you're also protected against that because we have to be. We're regulated, so you're protected. If you do it yourself, guess where that comes back on? You. There is no protection. There is no, oh yeah, we messed up. We have to fix it legally and we'll take on the cost. That's all of you. And that talks about any of your, setting up of your business. Obviously, your books and accounting and taxes are usually the biggest one. But get in trouble and not read the right fine print on your lending is also an issue. Same thing with any document or agreement you come up with. We see it a lot with landlords and those that have new staff that are just hiring. They kind of just Google a template for an agreement, an employment contract, or a leasing agreement, and it misses quite a bit. That leaves you wide open for liability issues, one, and two, nowhere to recoup some of your money on top of it. So those are all the things, and those are very simple ones off the cusp that when you go to loan, you just can't see. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
I talked about we can see things that you can't see because we've been through it, or we've been through it with a client that you would be like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's
Mm.
the risk you're taking by not having someone oversee it at least a little bit, right? We're not talking about having to hire us ongoing all the time. We have, and I know my firm specifically and others have, where you just come to us, we'll create the whole big picture thing, the big plan, we'll walk through things, and then you can implement it over time if you're one of those DIYers, right? At least you have an overseer to help you, quit from those biggest issues. I, obviously, selfishly would say, hey, you should do the month to month thing, because there's a lot of moving pieces, but still, at least put part of your plan out there so someone can review it holistically first. Then, if you want to implement it and check in every now and again, that still works as a DIYer.
I like that. But I do agree. I think the month to month is
Yeah,
absolutely the way to
absolutely.
go because we don't know what you know, really.
Yeah,
And trying to do it by yourself, oh man, it's risky as you just shared, but man, it's time consuming and it is frustrating, just downright frustrating, because it's
Yes,
something you don't understand.
correct.
So I'm curious, what do you believe are some critical financial moves that you think every business owner should make, regardless of industry? You know, if you had to pick a few that you'd pull out of your bag of tricks, what would you say they are?
Yes, first and foremost is getting your mindset right about debt. I am so sick and tired of the Dave Ramseys of the world and all of them saying you always have to run life debt free. That is not how the richest people in the world become richer and richer and richer. That is not how these businesses become bigger and bigger and bigger and successful. Change your mindset from debt to leverage. Okay. Debt equals leverage. If I can leverage someone else's money or someone else's time, human capital, right? I can leverage that to make more. I can leverage that to get ahead. You need to get that through your mind first, because by leveraging other people or others' money, you can now grow the way you want to and exponentially. One caveat to that is when you do leverage, you are at a higher risk potentially for failure if you do not plan correctly on the front side. Okay. So let's start with that and nail that out specifically.
And that's why I like you so much. We agree. We agree on that. And I will say I run into that a lot, that roadblock, and that's the biggest thing I have to overcome. And no shame, I like Dave Ramsey, but
Sure.
unfortunately, he's put so many people in that mindset that debt is just so bad. And especially for me, like with capital stacking, people think I should never use a credit card. I have to pay for everything with cash. And then they come into my world and they are I mean, they've ruined it for themselves, unfortunately, because they've listened to that advice. So I do agree with you. It makes sense to use other people's money, leverage it, you know, as long as it's reasonable, and you
Yeah.
have someone like you to help them understand what they're doing and getting into. But absolutely makes sense. And kind of along the lines of that, how important do you think it is for business owners to plan their financial future, not just for their business, but for their personal life as well?
When you become a business owner, you become a business owner because you want to make more money for yourself, right? A lot of people don't understand that that takes a while to do that, a long while usually, for it all to trickle into your personal, where you feel as if, holy hell, it's doing something for me. Um, so first, when you're thinking through starting a business, first and foremost, what type of business are you and what do you want to do with it? Are you going to sell it? Is that how you want to, get your money out of it? Do you want to set it up as a legacy where someone internally buys it out and pays you over time? Or third, is it kind of like, I'll use big names like an Amazon or an Apple, and they're going to be here forever because they're conglomerates and you got investors at the wazoo, right? You need to think through that first, right? Because building your business upon how you want to exit, it needs to be able to pay you at some point. So first and foremost, recognize that's going to take a long time for it all to hit your pocket first, right? Which means you need to plan for your exit strategy during the process of building. And third, utilize the assets inside your business for some of those personal things as well. And some of those concepts come from a tax perspective, right? I'll throw one out there being is when you travel, depending on your business, sometimes when you travel, there's a lot of business things that could be had at that time, right? For me, it's going to see clients. For me, it's going to prospect. For you, it's the same thing, right? So you just got to understand that your business and you are one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just organizing it to know what is an actual business expense and what is actually a personal expense. Then from there, you can understand why all these business owners seem to be doing so damn well, but on the personal side, we don't have many assets, right? And that is because the business is brunting all of that. And that's what they're designed for,
Mm-hmm.
unless you are designing them incorrectly. Because later in life, if you can't sell it because it's only you, or you can't, hand it off because you never built it that way, then you kind of just have to close up shop. And that's not
Mm.
what we want.
No, not at all. So I'm sure by now anyone listening would be have to be deaf to not see the value in working with someone like you. I think you've made it abundantly clear and just really taken those blinders off and crashed down those misconceptions. So for anybody looking to work with a financial planner, what are the first steps they need to take and what's important for them to look for in a financial planner, financial advisor to ensure that they have a great relationship?
Yeah. First and foremost, you can go to nobswealthpodcast.com, which is my podcast. On there, we have vetted partners and we have vetted planners on there, and we keep adding more and more. So if you first want to do that, there's a trusted, they're friends of mine, they're colleagues. I know exactly how they run. So one, you can just cut all through that and get to there first. But what you should do is figure out, what type of person do I want to be? Like, who do I want them to be? Not what they do, but can I get along with them? And so you're going to interview them. Don't just pick the one down the street. Don't just pick the first one you see, but like, can I get along with them? And then what can they provide? What do I think I need? And then what are some extra things that they can provide for you? Things to look out for. Yes, I'm going to say they should be a CFP, certified financial planner. Okay. That is our designation that has the board, that's board certified. So I believe going through that is the closest thing you're going to get to like a doctor or, a JD, if you will, for an attorney. I would say they should have that, not required, of course. But also how then their fees work and how transparent are they when you ask that question,
Mm.
right? I'm very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
I have project-based ones that go anywhere between 1,500 and 12,000, and our monthly goes between starts at 500, 500, 4,500, and 9,000. Okay, I have those very transparent. Should be on people's websites because you should be able to talk about money. If your planner can't talk about the money they charge you,
Mm.
then how are they going to help
Right.
educate you to talk about money? Okay. And the third, and probably the most important aspect of it, do they have relationships, other team members, other professionals, you name it, that can help lift you and guide you even further along than just working with them on whatever they're doing. Okay, those would be the three things that I would focus on.
Mm. And I know you kind of shared where they can
Yeah,
find your podcast, which it is awesome, and I think everyone should listen to it. And I will put it in the show notes. But let's say someone was inspired and they're like, I don't care, I got to work with Stoy. What would be the
yeah.
best way to connect with you?
Yes, blackmammoth.com.
Okay.
You can go there, you can go to whatever service model, and eventually I'll have my Calendly on there. Go ahead and come chat with me free of charge, like we don't charge for just talks, right? Otherwise, if you don't want to go that far, go to all my socials. I'm literally everywhere except for Reddit because they kicked me off. Um, Long story, but they don't like me. That being said, go anywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I am out there and I encourage you to communicate. Just talk.
Hmm.
I'll answer almost anything I can, unless compliance yells at me, right? But I'll be there and I just want to start open dialogues, right? So you can go ahead and go to that website. Or you can, like I said, you can go to nobswealthpodcast.com and also get a lot of that information and ways to reach out on top of it. And then again, my podcast is also everywhere. So wherever you love your podcast, we're there, including YouTube. So if you want to see the show, Sarah's on there too. And so you can come see us.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And last question, and perhaps the hardest question. I'm kidding. I look to you as a financial expert. I think I've got you way up there in my views of people. But I'm curious because I think the mistake we make is that we think that people don't make mistakes and that we make mistakes and we could never do what they do. So I'm curious, if you were to look back, what would you say your biggest financial mistake has been that you've ever made?
Ooh, I'm going to answer that in two ways.
Okay.
I'm going to answer it from what was the biggest mistake monetarily,
Mm.
and then what was the biggest mistake in terms of slow growth. Okay. My biggest mistake monetarily was investing into something that one of my trusted advisors stated was the way to go. And losing almost $100,000 was one of the biggest financial mistakes that I've made, right? I vetted it out. I know what I'm doing, right? I know investments, but I trusted them because they were running the show. and that show failed because of them, not because of the investment,
Mm.
right? So I've learned that I need to vet people out even more so. The flip side of that, emotionally, I had a business partner that at first was great, right? That we had a good time and vetted things out. And as people go, you start to figure out there's only two
Mm.
people in this world. Those that care about money and those that care about people. Is there an interlocking mix? Sure. But typically it's you either care about money or you care about people. And if you're two different people trying to build the same business and you have those two different mindsets, it won't work.
Nope.
I'm not saying I wasted 5 years of my life or 6 years of my life. Not at all. I learned a lot, grew a lot. But is my business where I wanted it to be because of that situation? Probably, right? It's probably not there because of that, but we're on that path. So again, my two things are both one monetarily and I guess more emotionally or structurally. And that is where I can take those experiences and really pass on to people when they are thinking about partnerships with family or not family,
Mhm.
or they're thinking about making this investment. I can be there for them and vet all of that out and be the unbiased opinion on the side going, bad idea, don't do it. Or, yeah, that can work. Here are your risks.
Mhm. We both have made that mistake. Your second mistake, we have that in common very much. And you hit the nail on the head. Most of the time, it's you're one or the other, and you try putting those together, and it is a recipe for disaster. Absolutely. So before we end, I'd love to hear from you. Is there any other advice that you feel like we missed today for business owners or maybe anyone contemplating starting a business?
Yes, get all your lending from True Finco. You didn't throw that out there.
No.
But no, really, um, we've hit upon it a lot. The things that you don't think of are the things that these professionals can help you catch. We understand that your business is your baby because guess what? Our business is our baby too. We are all business owners. We know that you have to embrace the suck. We know you want time with your family. We know all of those things, right? And so when you work with a team of professionals, it allows you to feel comfortable because we're all in it together. And I will guarantee you this. I can't guarantee you much because regulations, they'll yell at me. But I will guarantee you this. If you have a team of trusted people, and that could be family members, that could be your pastor, I don't care. A team of trusted people that want to help you grow in life, you are the wealthiest person in the world.
Mm. Wow. Those are some great closing words. Thank you. Stoy, thank you for joining me today. I know how busy you are, so I appreciate you taking some time out of your day and just really enlightening people. I love visiting with you. I love how you so openly share your heart and what's behind Black Mammoth. And that's what makes you unique. And I am certain that everyone listening saw that today. And wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, I hope that today's episode gave you a little bit of insight, made you maybe look at things a little bit differently. But more importantly, I hope that today gave you hope. And I know I said hope twice, but that's my goal with this podcast. I just want to give you hope because without hope, it's very hard to get through life. And a big part of having that hope is having knowledge. And unfortunately, we are in a society where sometimes that knowledge is hard to get. And I'm always trying to simplify and rip the blinders off what so many people complicate. And I believe that what Stoy did today is exactly that. So thank you, Stoy, and thank you for those of you that listened today. And until next time.